I'm Barakat. I'm an assistant professor at Florida Atlantic University.
And I'm Jeff Brooks, and I'm a professor at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia.
So what compelled you all to write the case?
Okay, so I'm originally from Egypt, and I feel that it's very important to build those bridges between as many countries as possible, especially now with all the mistrust and misunderstanding and the xenophobia that's taking place. So that's the main reason I feel that learning from different cultures is very important. In addition, I think that the setting of an international school provides a very rich context where you can see an exaggeration of the cultural conflicts that happen in American schools, but like multiplied by 10. So, that seemed like a good opportunity.
I think part of it too is that one of the things that we notice when we talk about leadership is that a lot of times the conflict piece of it gets glossed over, and we end up thinking about our approaches to leadership as something that, if you just do this, then that will happen. And I think that this case really helps us understand that the issues are much more complicated, and often changing one thing that you think seems reasonable will actually change 5 other things and can make a completely new situation that you have to deal with.
Why should readers and practitioners go to JCEL in this case?
JCEL in general offers something unique in the field of educational leadership. Being able to have the kind of rich, detailed, problems-based learning cases that JCEL offers is a unique and a helpful teaching tool, especially because it's complementary to almost every class you could possibly teach. And and they're so in-depth that it allows people to really get in touch more powerfully with the complexity of schools. Often textbooks, for example, will have a small little 2-paragraph case, and they say, okay, well, what would you do? But the JCEL cases actually let you look at the data, hear the dialogue, think about things in a detailed manner. And to me, they allow for a level of embracing complexity that you don't get in many other kind of teaching resources.
Yeah, and I always tell my students that learning kind of happens in our classroom in a triangle. So there's the content matter that we cover, and then also there is the reflection part which happens part in class and part on their own, and then there's the practical where they apply. And I think that the cases, especially in the journal, allow for that. You feel like you're actually doing things. You feel like you're actually in a place and making decisions, and you put yourself in and like being part of a context.
What particular points in the case ought to be part of the teaching deliberations?
Well, I would say that really the issues around conflict and conflict resolution, and how when cultures come together, they're in some ways complementary, and some ways their values, norms, and routines will come into conflict. And I think that basic situation is something that we see in schools every day. I think the other thing that the case will help people do is to reflect on the purpose of education and the purpose of leadership, and to be able to say, okay, well, what is it, when we're dealing with these kinds of complicated issues, how can we reflect on who we are and what we want schools to become, and what that means to get from where the school happens to be, or the situation, to a place of sort of an elevated level of cultural awareness, and also educational, helping put in place educational processes that are going to be good not only for one cultural group, but for all.
And I think that this is a very versatile case, and it could be utilized in multiple ways. So if in an ethics class, also in a class that kind of hits on globalization and the tension that comes with that, and we're all grappling with globalization, and there is no, I mean, people think that it's the greatest thing ever, and people feel very threatened by it. In this case, really represents that. So if I'll give you an example, so the mission of the school mentioned preparing citizens who are going to be global citizens, and also maintaining the culture of the country. So it's easier said than done. You know, when you come into the day-to-day life, is it always will it be always possible to find consensus between the two? No. And sometimes there's going to be a real serious conflict, and how do you tackle that? And also legal issues. So there are some. There's mention of some legal issues when it comes to abstinence and like federal funding for abstinence programs, and so it's you can make it whatever you want as an instructor. It's a very rich. I think very. I'm biased, but I think it's it's a case that you could use in multiple ways.